Okay, we're looking at A Winter's Tale. This will be the English setwork book for Afrikaans FAL kids in Matric this year, in the CAP syllabus. But if you're not joining us from South Africa, if you're joining us from anywhere else, I hope this will be helpful to you. So for those of you who don't know what FAL kids these are kids whose first language isn't English, but they managed to get through this Shakespeare book, and that is my aim here, to demystify it and to make it as simple as possible. Okay, so it'll be best if you have your script next to you and then you watch the video with me. I will read it to you and try and explain and kind of translate into modern English for you, okay? This play, The Winter's Tale, is a tragic comedy. So that means that it was written later on in Shakespeare's career. Please excuse the noises all around me. I happen to be in a school. This happens to be a free period in which I do these lessons. Okay, so we've got two courts. There's Leontes, right? He's the king of Sicilia. And his best friend Polixenes, his childhood friend, is the king of Bohemia, and they used to be very close. So in this first scene, it's just two lords from the two various courts that are speaking to each other. Okay, I believe we've got Archidamus and Camillo, and Camillo is from Leontes' court, if I'm correct, and Archidamus should be from the court of Polixenes in Bohemia. Okay, so at this point, the entire purpose of the scene is just to give us exposition or information about what's happening, okay? It doesn't necessarily move the story forward, it just introduces us to the world. Okay, so there's one lord, Archidamus, says, "If you shall chance, Camillo, to visit Bohemia on the like occasion whereon my services are now on foot, you shall see, as I have said, a great difference betwixt our Bohemia and your Sicilia." So from that we learn that Archidamus is from Bohemia, right? And Camillo says, "I think this coming summer the king of Sicilia means to pay Bohemia the visitation which he justly owes him." So what these two men are saying is, Archidamus is saying, by the way, if you get a chance, bro, why don't you come to Bohemia, to our joint, see what it's like there, and you'll notice that we have a lot of differences. And Camillo goes, "You know what? This coming summer, the king of Sicilia is actually coming to Bohemia. And he's going to pay him the visitation which he justly owes him." In other words, the one king owes the other king a visit. So obviously that means that some of the lords are going to be going with him, right? "Wherein our entertainment shall shame us, we will be justified in our loves, for indeed, beseech you." So basically, Archidamus is saying, look, when you Sicilians come to Bohemia, unfortunately, it's not as cool as your place, so our entertainment's not going to be as amazing as yours. In a way, these are friends, but they're kind of sucking up to each other. And Camilla goes, "Beseech you." In other words, I beg you, don't talk nonsense. You know what I mean? Archidamus goes, "Verily," verily means truthfully, "I speak it in the freedom of my knowledge. We cannot with such magnificence in so rare," I know not what to say. He's saying, when he goes, "We cannot in such magnificence, so rare," and then he stops the sentence there and goes, "I know not what to say." Basically what he's saying there is, you guys have so much magnificence in your court, in our court things aren't as pretty, aren't as fancy. Okay? He goes, he doesn't even have words to describe it. He goes, "We will give you sleepy drinks that your senses, unintelligent of our insufficience, may, though they cannot praise us, as little accuse us." I'll read that a bit slowly again. He says, "We will give you sleepy drink." In other words, they're going to give them some dop, some alcohol, right? That's going to make them kind of tired, right? Then he goes, "That your senses," the five senses, sightseeing, hearing, whatever, "unintelligent of our insufficiency." Insufficiency means you don't have enough, right? So we're going to make you so drunk that you're not even going to notice the fact that we don't have the same grandeur or luxury that you have, right? So your senses unintelligent of our insufficiency may, though they cannot praise us, as little accuse us. So basically, we're going to get you guys so drunk that even if you can't say anything good about us, at least you're not going to be able to say anything bad, because you're not even going to notice. Okay? And Camilla says, "You pay a great deal too dear for what's given freely. He's like, listen, we give you all of this luxury freely. You don't have to, you know, give us that much in return, or, you know, by way of compliments and that sort of thing, right? Archidamus says, believe me, I speak as my understanding instructs me and as mine honesty puts to utterance. So, believe me, that's clear, right? He goes, what I see as my understanding instructs me. My understanding is teaching me or is showing me what I'm saying, and mine honesty puts to utterance. Utterance means to speak, right? So basically, he's saying, I mean what I say and I say what I mean. I'm just talking about what I see. Got it? Camilla goes, Sicilia cannot show himself overkind to Bohemia. So when he's talking about Sicilia and Bohemia, he's actually talking about the kings, Leontes and Polixenes, king of Bohemia, right? He's saying Sicilia cannot show himself overkind to Bohemia. They were trained together in their childhoods. So now if you're going to be taking notes on the friendship between Polixenes and Leontes, please do. It's very important to this play. Please underline this and take notes of it. They were trained together in their childhoods. In other words, they probably had the same teacher. And they were rooted betwixt them such an affection which cannot choose but branch now. Okay? So in other words, they were very close as little boys. They had such deep affection, but now it has to branch, right? Because they're running their own kingdoms. Since their more mature dignities and royal necessities made separation of their society, in other words, they've both become kings, right? They've both grown up and they've got other things to do, so they don't have as much time to be with each other, you know, to play chess or to, I don't know, run around in the field or something, you know. Their encounters, though not personal, have been royally attorneyed with the interchange of gifts. So they haven't had very personal encounters with each other. They haven't just gotten together and had a nice braai or a barbecue together. They've had to have more formal things, right? They've been sending some of their lords or whatever, or attorneys, if you will, to send gifts to each other, right? Interchange of gifts, letters, loving embassies, that they have seemed to be together, though absent. So they are constantly sending each other stuff, so that, you know, it still shows that they're quite close to each other, right? Shook hands over a vast and embraced, as it were, from the ends of the opposite winds. What a beautiful image. He's saying that even over the oceans and even over the winds, they were shaking hands to each other. So yeah, they're busy, but they keep sending each other gifts, right? From the ends of opposite winds, in other words, across the ocean, right? The heavens continue their loves. Okay, so he's just praising the love that these two kings had for each other as boys and still continue to have. Archidamus, I think there is not in the world either malice or matter to alter it. First of all, please underline those two M's, malice or matter to alter it. He's saying that they have such a strong love. This is ironic that he's saying this because there's going to be a huge problem later on. But he's saying that there is not in the world either malice or matter to alter it. Malice means bad feelings, and matter just means anything that exists, right? So he's saying there's nothing in the world that can separate these two boys or young men in their love for each other, right? You have an unspeakable comfort of your young prince, Mamillus. Mamillus is Leontes' son. And they're saying you must be really proud or happy to have Mamillus in your court, right? The prince. It is a gentleman of the greatest promise that ever came to my note. Came to my note means that I ever noticed. In other words, now that I'm aware of Mamillus, I've never seen such a boy with so much potential, right? It is a gentleman of greatest promise. When we say somebody's of great promise, it means that we can see a good future for him. You know, his behavior now as a child gives us promise for his future. Unfortunately, this is also tragically ironic, which we will see later in the play. I very well agree with you in the hopes of him. So I think that makes sense, right? I very well agree with you in the hopes of him. 'Tis a gallant child, one that indeed physics the subjects, makes old hearts fresh. So in other words, all the subjects of the kingdom, even if they're old, almost become youthful when they see him because he's so gallant, he's so full of life. They that went on crutches ere he was born, ere is whenever, right, in this case, they that went on crutches when he was born, so people were going on crutches with the old people, they that went on crutches ere he was born, desire yet life to see him a man. So he's saying even old people who are the prince's subjects and were already walking on crutches, who might be close to death, want to live longer so that they can see what kind of man he turns into, right? And Archidamus goes, would they else be content to die? He's like, so if there wasn't a prince, would these old people want to die? And Camilla goes, yes, if there were no other excuse why they should desire to live. So Camilla truly believes the prince is so great that the old people want to live just so they can see him grow up. And Archidamus is, this is just a friendly chat. Archidamus is all, if the king had no son, they would desire to live on crutches till he had one. Okay? They're saying if the king didn't have a prince, those people would still want to stay alive until he had a prince or a son, which is the same thing. Sorry, what I mean, or. But I want you to notice if the king had no son, they would desire to live on crutches till he had one. So that's what we call a rhyming couplet. That is how in Shakespeare's day you knew that a scene was finished. Or in this case, at least, the scene is completely wrapped up. Okay, the scene has been spoken, from what I can tell, in prose, not in iambic pentameter. If you don't know what that is, what the relevance is on it, please check my channel. There is a video that explains the purpose of iambic pentameter and what it is. There's no space in this video for me to talk about that. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope that has made this chapter a little bit more easy for you. Thank you for joining. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends.